Hello, bookish people. Welcome. My name is Lauren. I'm happy to have you because we are about to go on a journey, okay? A journey, a quest, if you will, to find my sanity. I finished reading almost all of GM Fairy's books that she has written, all but one. And my brain is just in a state where I just need to reform it from the mush that it has become. But before I even start, I need to preface this with you throughout this video are going to be hearing me giggle, okay? Saying the word insane a lot. And also just taking these books very unseriously, but I cannot let you get that twisted in any way whatsoever. Because making one thing clear, if GM Fairy has one fan, it is me. If she has no fans, I am dead. I will read every single thing that Miss GM Fairy puts out into this world. Okay? Are her books insane? Yes. Are they so well written with smut? Yes. And I've been here for the whole ride. I've been strapped in, my crazy seatbelt buckled fully, and I've taken this ride, and I regret nothing. Because to start us off, I read Get in My Swamp. And if you're looking at this and you're like thinking the things that you're definitely thinking, correct. All of them are true. Because this right here is Shrek erotica, and I gave it a 5 star. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. Lock me up. Lock me up because this book was crazy and wonderful and kind of hilarious. Yeah, it just gave such Once Upon a Time vibes for me. Like, it gave the whole play off of Shrek while making it more dark and more adult, obviously, oh my god, but in a sense where it felt different enough where she's not going to get sued, and familiar where I like felt comfortable in the community until things started happening that I was like, I should leave these two alone. I should be leaving the room. But oh, I loved it. I loved it. So, you're probably wondering how she got away with using Shrek and Fiona's name without someone coming after her about this. Definitely a lawyer or five. But she didn't. Don't get it mixed up. This is not Shrek and Fiona. This is Beck and Leona, okay? Just come on to the island of crazy with me. Come on to this island because it is so much fun here, okay? I promise. So, we're following Leona specifically. Leona is getting married to Lawrence Farquaad, okay? I think I'm pronouncing his last name correct. It's either Fark or Farquaad. I'm going to say Farquaad because it sounds cooler and more like Farquaad. So basically, she is marrying Lawrence Farquaad, and he has a stepsister named Victoria. I want to say her name is, yeah, Victoria. So Victoria takes Leona on this bachelorette trip, and the trip is not Leona's vibe at all, okay? She's like, Victoria must not even know me because we're at this like weird quiet retreat where no one's allowed to say anything. Like, this is whack. So she ends up leaving her own bachelorette party. She's like on her phone in the woods, traveling out into the swamp of Florida. Florida, okay, stay with me. And she's walking in the woods, dot, dot, dot. She gets stuck in an ogre trap. The reason why there's an ogre trap is because the ogre, well, I mean, he's the only one in the community, but the rest of the community has a deal with the government. Just hang in there. I promise. Just hang in there. They have permission to keep magic a secret. Anytime someone falls into Beck's ogre trap, he gets to eat them. But when he sees Leona, he's like, oh, woman, a woman goes to the community board and he's like, listen, hear me out. I don't want to eat this one. I'm going to put her in a cage. So he puts her in a cage, like think just like giant human bird cage in his hut. I don't know how it's fitting in his hut, but it is. And so Leona, she wakes up and she's all like, what is going on? Where am I? I need to get out of this cage. Oh, my Lanta, this part was so crazy. So she's like, I want to get out of the cage. In order to do that, I'm going to get him in the cage. So how am I going to get him in the cage? So this crazy lady, she just starts pleasuring herself right in front of Beck because she's like, well, clearly he's going to want some of this. So, and she's right because Beck sees her start to pleasure herself. And he's like, get me in that cage right now. Things are happening. Leona's like, not sure if she wants anything like that with Beck because she's like, oh my God, like, is this Stockholm syndrome? I don't even know. But you're also so great, so nice. And they keep kind of going at it like cat and mouse, right? Where she's like, I'm gonna escape. And he's like, no, you're not. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna run through the forest. And he's like, I'm gonna catch you and then have sex with you. That part was so crazy. One of the best ones. But I don't want to spoil this whole book for you because I truly do not even just want, but I need you to read this book. Just know that there's another character named Donnie. I almost said Donkey because that's who it's supposed to be, but it's Donnie. And he is not only annoying, but he's awful. He is a little bit of a sexual assaulter, but you know, who's counting? Me, I am. Just know that it is jam-packed with smutty filth. And the best news is that there is a sequel called Stay in My Swamp. Funny enough, this is actually the one book by GM that I have not read. I wanted to get like a different part of this world. So instead of diving into the second book from the ogre love, I ended up reading Spellbound Seduction, and GM Fairy was so gracious and wonderful enough to send me a promotion box for this. And this little baby right here was the most insane plot that I think I maybe have ever read, ever, literally ever, because this is within the same community as Beck and Leona. I almost said Shrek and Fiona. And this is Winston. This is all Winston. He is a wizard and he has a curse where he cannot be intimate with anybody or they'll die. They'll just die. So, what does he do? He is the co owner of a magical sex club. Okay? Magical sex club. So, since he can't get pleasured, he just pleasures himself amongst a bunch of other people in an open sex club. So we are introduced to Mr. Winston because not only does he have a curse that needs to be broken, but so does Marigold. She is Midas's daughter, so anything that she touches will turn to gold. So she has never been intimate. Okay, she is Miss Virgin Mary. She is our innocent lady. And then the next part of my favorite thing about this book is that Miss GM made herself a character. And I don't think that this was necessarily supposed to be like to a T herself, but her name, it is her pen name. GM Fairy enters the chat. And I mean, Godmother Fairy, she's the fairy godmother, whatever. And she's like, hey, Winston, I brought you Marigold. You guys are going to go on a quest to try and cure your curses. Surely they can be broken. So I'm going to send you to a wizard vampire. I'm going to send you to a wizard vampire. Did I ever think I would say that sentence? No, I did not. She will write anything. There are no boundaries for GM Fairy. So we've got a wizard and we've got Midas's daughter. on their way to New York City from Florida. And without spoiling, I can tell you that there are rumors that this wizard vampire isn't the best dude. So they are unsure going into this if this wizard vampire is actually going to be able to break their curses or if he's just a meanie bobini. But you read to find out. This is another smut book. The one spoiler that I'll give you is I was like, as soon as I started, you're introduced to the curses very early on. So I'm like, how are two people that can't touch other people? How is this supposed to be a spicy, sexy time? And then, and then GM Fairy gets on her little laptop and she's like, "You fools! He has a wand!" The way I was screaming, I will leave it at that. Use your imagination or please just read it. But that's gonna wrap it up for Spellbound Seduction. I personally think that you should just jump in. Now the other ones I actually don't physically own. I read them on my Kindle. So I will just put the covers right here. But the next one that I read was probably my second favorite. It's called My AI, and it is simply put sexy Megan, as in like the horror slash comedy AI movie Megan, where she's like breaking it down and stuff. So in My AI, we are following Miss Azzy, okay? She is a MeTube influencer. And she has a really awful experience with like a stalker, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, she had a bad time. And so her publicist ends up getting her connected with AndroCorp, this company that has created an AI robot that looks and acts like a human being, but is essentially built as a bodyguard. Okay. So she ends up getting this giant package in the mail, and the package is Remy. Okay. REM, I forget what the numbers are, but there are like numbers following his capital R, capital E, capital M, whole R2D2 situation. And so to make him more humanized, she calls him Remy. Basically, Remy comes like a Ken doll. He has no genitalia, but you can buy that as an attachment. So once Azzy opens up this AndroCorp AI, he's like, girl, okay, well, he doesn't say that, but he's like, I will do anything you want, basically. And she's like, huh, interesting. And he ends up like walking in on her, pleasuring herself. Can I even say this on YouTube? I don't know. We'll find out. So he's like, oh my God, I'm kind of offended that like she didn't ask me to do that. I said I would do anything for her. And I'm like, okay. And so she ends up getting kind of turned on by this robot. Lo and behold, she ends up purchasing the genitalia attachment. She ends up having just the best time with that. It was well written. It was well written. And I'm gonna be honest, I feel the need to spoil this one for you because this ending was probably my favorite of all of GM's books cuz the pure bananas element that is brought into the end was just hysterical. So if you don't want spoilers, go ahead and just click right on through, but I promise you it is so insane, hilarious. I'm going to tell you anyway. So basically what happens is Azzy, she's been using him as basically a sex toy, but also actually as a bodyguard. What his sole purpose of being there for her. And she ends up going to this club and this stalker is there and it's just all horrible. I don't know if this is when Remy gets shot, but there's a time where he's saving Azzy and he gets 5 bullets in him. Bless his soul. And so they ship him back to the manufacturer. They get him patched up. So there's a mix up at the manufacturer. Okay. A beautiful disaster, if you will. And not only do they send back Remy, but they send back another Rem 082596 whatever. So she's like, "Oh my god, which one is which? I think this is OG Remy, but I can't tell. They're both like saying the same things." And after talking, both of the robots are like, "Wow, I think we're just the same person because we just share the same like data and whatever in our heads. So really, I am you and you are me." And as he's like, "This is amazing, but I can't choose between who I want to keep. Do I have to send both back? It was their mistake. Why do I have to send both back?" So this is important because she ends up banging them both. She ends up banging them both. It was great. It was great. And so that happens, and she says, "Well, why would I want this to end?" So now she really can't choose between the two because she's had a taste of the menage a trois, if you will. After talking it through kind of with both of them and witnessing their like little flirtatious banter, because she like sleeps in one morning, she's peeking through the door, she's looking at them in the kitchen, they're flirting a little bit, really getting along, and she decides to just live happily ever after with both of them. She basically says, screw the company. They accidentally send me two, I'm keeping both." So she does. And all three of them live happily ever after, and she ends up giving them the little nickname of My Remy's, and that was just the icing on the cake, and I was screaming. I was screaming because 'cause I'm like, I knew that it was going one way, but then the added factor of double Remy was crazy. Crazy bananas, loved it. Oh, GM. Oh, GM. Okay, so that's that for my AI. On to one that I I waited a whole 2 weeks for this book from when I had finished my AI, and I was upset. I was upset because I really wanted to read it, and I was distraught that I had to wait the 2 weeks because it is Bad Behavior, and it is a smutty version of the Bee Movie. And I actually really enjoyed the crazy ride. I had my little Delululand time of just like thinking Barracks was this wonderful bee man. And that's the place that I lived and why my brain is currently mashed potatoes. Basically, what happens in Bad Behavior is we're following a character named Janessa who has an awful, awful, awful boyfriend named Kent. He's very like deadbeat, is a cheater. He's going nowhere in life. And Miss Janessa is a florist, but the problem is her flower business is not blooming, pun intended. Well, in comes Barracks. He is from a colony on another planet. He's like a soldier, basically, and he is put on a mission to come to Earth, and he can switch forms. So he can both be in human size form. I think he's 6'7", and he can also be in compact bee size form. But to him, their species isn't exactly a bee. It just is very similar to what we have on Earth to be bees. And so he's buzzing around like a little bee. And Kent, awful Kent, swats him away. So much for save the bees, Kent. And our florist is like, absolutely not. I'm going to nurse this bee back to health. So she takes maimed bee, Barracks. She brings him back home and she ends up putting him in a container. That scene was just a big bowl of banana craziness. He's trapped in this container and he sees Janessa changing into her pajamas for the evening, and he literally just oh, hey girl, hey, your mom's not talking about weird stuff. My dog is judging me. So he ejaculates right then and there, and it is honey. It's honey. And Janessa, before she goes to bed, she decides to check on her little bee friend, and she's like, "Oh my god, why is there honey inside?" She is like, "Why is there honey in this container?" And whoop, she tastes it, and she's like, "This is the best thing that my taste buds have ever experienced." Barracks decides that he's gonna try and leave, but it fails miserably because his wings are horribly maimed. And so he stands over Janessa all creepy like while she's sleeping, and she wakes up, freaks the fuck out as she should, and eventually he like explains everything that's happening to her, and she's like, "Ah, I'm dreaming. This is a dream. Do whatever you want, say whatever you want. None of this is real." And he's like, "Cool, cool, cool, cool. So can I sleep on your couch?" And she's like, "Sure, why not? I'm gonna wake up and you won't be here." But she wakes up and he's still super there. She is turned on a lot. She's like, he is just doing one thing after another, and I am feeling things. Kent is just such a dud in bed, in life, in everything. And so she is like, this B barracks, I'm here for that. But she doesn't want to have sex with him because he like obviously told her about the whole pollination plan, and she's like, ugh, no. But foreplay, it definitely gave a sense of like Ice Planet Barbarians, where you can tell that this book is really setting up for a series. And I only say that because there were certain characters that were introduced, specifically a little bit of a grump. And he's a bee man as well. And it just seems like he's gonna have his own book, and, I mean, there's this entire colony of bees, so I feel like it would be really interesting if we got different bees, like how in Ice Planet Barbarians, you get different barbarians' points of views and all that stuff they get with different girls, whatever. So Janessa is basically our Georgie, and Barracks is our Vectel. They're just gonna start this whole series because it did say a pollinator's love story. So I'm gonna assume that there are gonna be more books. This one definitely gave a good feel for like what this world is like, because obviously this is a world in which I can only assume humans and bee men are gonna be living. Oh my god. It's like it's all catching up to me where I'm just like, "What am I saying?" But where human and bees are going to live together in harmony. So it definitely gives a feel of that. And yeah, I want you to find out what Janessa and Barracks's love story turns out to be. And, well, also that was funny. It is just so on the nose, and I love GM for that. GM Fairy is my enigma. Okay? She is just an anomaly to me. I love it. I will read anything that she puts out. But you guys know me at this point. I am here for a kiss in a book, a bang in a book. I am here for a crazy time, not a long time. When it comes to books like these, it cannot be like 300 pages. And that's why GM's books are the best, because I think her longest one is like 187 pages. I also want to note, Get in My Swamp, I read in one sitting. Spellbound Seduction, I also read in one sitting on that same night. So I had a night where I read Get in My Swamp, finished it, said, I'm going to need more than that, read Spellbound Seduction. Then the next day, started my AI. I think I finished it the next day, and then I had to wait 2 weeks until Valentine's Day when Bad Behavior came out, and I finished that in like 2 days. I just really have been rotting my brain out here in the best way. The best way. If these types of books are not normally your cup of tea, or they just sound too crazy, trust me when I say that these are the perfect palate cleansers. If you are just getting off reading a high fantasy book and you just want to shut off your brain and not think a little bit, but still have a good time, these are wonderful, because the world building is not anything crazy. Because really, when I'm saying world building, I'm putting that very lightly, which is a good thing because it's basically like she's taking the world that we already live in and just sprinkling the most batshit things that you can even think about. So, yeah, I think that you should read GM Fairy's little library that she has gifted all of us with. I really just enjoy them so much. I'm trying to spread the love. Rose also read Get in My Swamp. She also rated it a 5-star. Okay, I want to put that out there. And we found a series that was dinosaur erotica. Will I read it? I don't know. But if I'm just feeling really bored or really adventurous, maybe I'll give it a shot just to do even a reaction plot breakdown. But like that's the vibe. So if you guys have anything similar to that that I can absolutely gorge on, please let me know. But yeah, I think that's all for me today. So thank you for finding your way back to my channel. I hope you guys stay safe, stay hydrated, and until next time, thanks for being a friend. Bye.